sitting alone, digging up bones. I'm digging up bones. Exhuming things that's better left alone. I'm resurrecting memories of a love that's dead and gone. Yet tonight I'm sitting alone, digging up bones. I'm digging up bones. Exhuming things that's better left.
That'll be Digging Up Bones. There's Randy Travis for you, and this is Rodney Atkins. And if you're going through, well, you know where, take it easy, okay? Don't get the hot foot.
Times when you feel like there's a sign there on your back. Says I don't mind if you kick me. Seems like everybody has. Things go from bad to worse. You think they can't get worse than that, and then they do. You step off the straight and narrow and you don't know where you are. Use the needle of your compass to sew up your broken heart. Ask directions from a genie in a bottle of Jim Beam and she lies to you. That's when you learn the truth. If you're going through hell, keep on going, don't slow down. If you're scared, don't show it. You might get out, for the devil even knows you're there. Well, I've been deep down in that darkness. I've been down to my last match. Filled 100 different demons, breathing fire down my back. And I knew that if I stumbled, I'd fall right into the trap that they were laying. Yeah. But the good news is there's angels everywhere out on the street, holding out a hand to pull you back up on your feet. The ones that you've been dragging for so long, you're on your knees, you might as well be praying. Guess what I'm saying? If you're going through hell, keep on going, don't slow down. If you're scared, don't show it. You might get out, for the devil even knows you're there. Yeah, if you're going through hell, keep on moving, face that fire, walk right through it. You might get out, for the devil even knows you're there. If you're going through hell, keep on going, don't slow down. If you're scared, don't show it. You might get out, for the devil even knows you're there. Yeah, if you're going through hell, keep on moving, face that fire, walk right through it. You might get out, for the devil even knows you're there. Yeah, you might get out, for the devil even knows you're there. Yeah. Real country.
Now in Kingston and Rhinebeck at 92.5 FM.
I'm drinking champagne, feeling no pain till early morning. Dining and dancing with every pretty girl I can find. I'm having a fling with a pretty young thing till early morning. tomorrow I'll wake up with you on my mind. Guilty conscience, I guess, though I must confess I never loved you much when you were mine. So I'll keep drinking champagne and feeling no pain till early morning, dining and dancing with every pretty girl I can find, having a fling with a pretty young thing till early morning, knowing tomorrow I'll wake up with you on my mind. Guilty conscience, I guess, though I must confess I never loved you much when you were mine. So I'll keep drinking champagne, feeling no pain till early morning.
On 920 WGHQ, 1260 WBNR, 1420.
And good morning. You're now listening to Kingston Community Radio, airing on FM 92.5 and AM 920 WGHQ in Kingston, New York. This programming is brought to you by our listeners and corporate underwriters who are interested in presenting local community radio. The opinions expressed on this program do not represent those of Pamel Broadcasting or Kingston Community Radio. Listeners are encouraged to send in $10 per month to help bring this program to you, and mail your contributions to Kingston Community Radio, Post Office Box 4364, Kingston, New York 12402. And for more information, or to donate online, visit our website at mykcr.org. And you can tune in to mykcr.org's YouTube stream, 7 to 9 a.m. every weekday. Good morning, this is Dan Gatis, and thank you for sharing the morning with us. It's a super Wednesday, November 18th, but only 28 degrees here now. And there are some scattered snow showers today, this morning, and then becoming sunny later on, high 36. Tonight, a few passing clouds and a clear sky, low around 20. Thursday, sunshine and clouds mixed, high back up to about 46. Thursday night, cloudy skies early, then only partly cloudy after midnight, a low of 34. Friday, partly cloudy again, and a high of 61. Friday night, partly cloudy, a low down to 38. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
How do airplanes fly? What's in this box? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Learn how to store your gun securely and make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
We are Lions. We bring hope where it's needed, support causes that matter, change lives, change communities, change the world. Visit lionsclubs.org to learn more.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. Cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments, because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Show the world that you're tougher than tough. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
This is Tony Marmo. Many families in our area will not have a happy holiday, and the WGHQ Happy Christmas Fund will help them. We are asking for your contribution to purchase children's clothes, toys, and food for seniors. You can drop off your contribution at the Boyce Brothers Dairy Milk House on O'Neill Street in Kingston. Thank you so much.
And you're listening to KCR, Kingston Community Radio, WGHQ 920 on your AM dial, 92.5 FM, and stream mykcr.org. And we are on air, broadcasting every morning for you from 7 to 9 a.m., weekdays, Kingston Community Radio. 331-9255 is our call-in number. It's a talk show, so it's a call-in show, too. So 331-9255, and today is Super Wednesdays, and a couple supervisors are in the room already. Greg Shorvis and Fred Costello, good morning.
Good morning, Dan Gatis. Good morning, Fred Costello, Supervisor, Town of Saugerties.
Good morning, Greg. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning,
listeners.
Good morning, listeners. Yes, good morning, listeners. And you're listening to us live from our studios here at 16 Lucas Avenue. 331-9255 is our call-in number. We'd love to hear from you. Anything that may be on your mind, any questions you have for the supervisor, myself, anything in general, give us a call. We got a nice lineup this morning here, too. We got Chief Tinty, the ever flamboyant Chief Tinty, who will probably be bringing along his lieutenant or another member of the KPD. And then at 8:30, we've got Saugerties School Superintendent Kirk Reinhardt, who's going to be talking about the school buildings capital project. A lot of people don't know about that. And it's good to see that he's going to be the guest speaker tonight at the Saugerties Chamber, virtual chamber meeting that you have once a month. Normally it's the fourth Wednesday, but with Thanksgiving, it's going to be this evening. So he'll be joining us in the studio here, as will Chief Tinty. And I believe we have Supervisor Bill McKenna on virtually, chatting with our control tower at this moment. And we'll see what's going on up in Woodstock. So great lineup this morning here on KCR. And I didn't want
a caller already, or is that Mr. McKenna?
Bill. I think that's Bill. So before
I'm curious
I get into
to see,
this,
because we saw a number of cars coming from the Woodstock area with snow on their roof, and it was slurries by us.
That's what we were remarking about.
What's that?
That's what we were remarking about.
There was some snow.
Oh yeah.
There was snow in
some
the mountains.
flurries up there. Oh yeah.
Good morning, Bill McKenna, Woodstock Supervisor.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Good morning, Bill.
We did get a little dusting up here, and it's interesting because I live at the beginning of a road that goes uphill, and I always find it interesting as the cars are coming down from up top how much more snow they have even than I got. So, but there was one car that looked like it had about an inch of snow on it.
Really? We did see that, though, when I was coming by the traffic circle. A number of cars that were coming from the west.
Yeah.
Were coming in with snow on the roof. I was like, well, boy.
Well, yeah, there's been a couple mornings you look at the mountains. And,
beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and they were covered in snow. I think one of the nicest sights of the Catskills, the nicest view of the Catskill, and there's plenty of them. But obviously, I'm on the Malden Turnpike. I make that right-hand turn on Mike Kraut Road
every day.
The elevation is so much higher than, say, the property of the Hits, Saugerties High School, the Canton Complex, etc. And that mountain hits you right in the face.
It really does.
Boy, just been some spectacular views through the fall. And then the other morning, with the sun in the east, it was a clear sky, but there was dark clouds behind the mountain. The mountain was white, and I was ready to pull over and take a picture, but never did.
Yeah, I've seen people photograph that.
Oh yeah,
often,
I've seen people with the tripod right there at Mike Kraut and 9W on the south side there of Mike Kraut, set up tripods and take pictures.
Yeah, that view's pretty special.
My grandparents had a place up in High Woods on Rolson Drive, and the road sat up a little high, and across the street, across the road, was a big field that kind of went down. So you got a nice view, and it was just incredible view of Overlook Mountain. And I happened to be on Facebook about a month ago, and I'm scrolling through. My brother lives there on Olson Drive now. And the next thing I come across, and I don't even know how it popped up, but some woman had taken a picture right from that spot. She must have been standing in my brother's yard.
Wow.
So there are a number of beautiful spots.
It's neat to see that, though.
It was a great spot.
There's a few spots. Ironically, the Sorghe's landfill gives you one of the best perspectives.
There's another,
It's beautiful, and you're at the capped landfill, and then driving up Xena Road, there's a number of really good perspectives to see the overlook as well.
Yeah. It's ironic because the Woodstock landfill, if you go in there, it's the same thing. It's a spectacular view. I mean, and there you're right up close.
Yeah, you're very close there.
So
it is ironic, though, isn't it?
Prime real estate to put dumps in, that's for sure.
It is ironic, though, when on occasions we have to be up there for various reasons, and you're kind of looking around, and you know where you are, and then you turn around and you get this majestic view coming back at you. It's like, who thought this was a good spot to do this to it? But
probably back then those spots were a dime a dozen anywhere you went.
Probably true.
Yeah, and it was probably the same as like on the river. And I'm sure there were a lot of vacant parcels, and same way with these spectacular views of whether it be Overlook, the Catskills. And then eventually they get gobbled up.
Right.
It's, we live here, so we take it for granted. But when you go to areas that don't have the mountains, it's unsettling because something's missing. It's, I love watching them, and they're almost alive in a way because they change with the seasons, they change with the weather.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty great place we live in.
The other difference, too, I mean, I remember as a kid when I'd visit my grandparents and we'd take a ride, and there were so many more open fields and brush lots, and now today, if you go back and take a look, so many of those places are mature woods, and you lose the view at that point. You're kind of surrounded and clustered in, which I'm not knocking, but, it's a big difference.
Reforested, huh?
Yeah.
That's interesting, yeah. Remember, almost all of the Hudson Valley was exactly that.
Farmland.
Was farmland and fields, and look at how much it's been reforested, and we know that one's rock fences.
That used to be pastures.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, somebody didn't just plant those in the middle of the woods, that's for sure.
They were pastures, yeah. The cow farming was enormous, and of course the sheep too in the 1800s. That was a huge trend. The
wool was
sheep
a much
farming.
more significant resource than
wool.
it is now.
Yeah.
So I want to update our listeners with the Happy Christmas Fund. Lawrence tells me just this morning. So this is hot right off the press, so to speak. Now over $66,000. The previous high was $49,000. Last year, 404 families received the gift cards. This year, it'll be over 600.
Wow.
That
is quite an accomplishment.
So righteous.
And thank you to all of our listeners. Just a tremendous outpouring of support for a very worthwhile cause.
Well,
and a very needy cause.
Yes, absolutely.
And in all the years, the need, the greatest this year.
Absolutely.
So it was quite overwhelming. And, speaking of Christmas, have you seen up in Woodstock, the number of homes that already have Christmas decorations, not only up.
I noticed that too, yeah.
On, earlier and earlier. Now,
there aren't a ton of them, but you never saw them this early.
No, I know.
Yeah.
It almost seemed like there were homes that had orange lights for Halloween.
Halloween, yeah.
They came down and the Christmas lights
went
up.
Well, smart on them for taking advantage of it because the weather's been amazing.
Oh yes, it has been.
And there's nothing worse than taking Christmas lights down when it's cold and 20 degrees and there's snow and ice holding it together.
Mm-hmm. And people have had significantly more time
At home, yes.
At home. The home, homes around, like when you drive around through Kingston, I'm sure it's true in Saugerties too.
Yep.
So many homes are in such pristine
Yeah, they all
condition.
look good.
And I think people they're focused more on the holidays and thinking about the next one to bring them up a bit. We have a deputy town clerk here in Woodstock who absolutely loves to decorate for all the holidays, and she had her Halloween decorations up in the office, and I think on the 31st she took them down and put the Thanksgiving gift or decorations. She was on to the next one already.
Good for her.
Oh,
Yeah.
So she decorates for Thanksgiving and then the day after for Christmas.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We might have, this year I think they may be mixed. We might have Thanksgiving and Christmas together.
There you go. Nothing wrong with that.
So,
And speaking of which,
I actually think psychologically that means more to us this year than it has in years past.
I think so, yes. And and that was her point.
Yeah, I think she's got a point.
Yeah, a very good one. It's uplifting. It brightens up the office space or whatever space you're in, and I think it helps lift people up.
I do. I feel like there's a little morale boost embedded in that, and we could all use that a little bit right now. So
yeah, that certainly could be a very good point. That with the daylight savings time coming to an end a couple weeks ago, obviously it gets dark much earlier. It gets light much later, and that's still continuing to grow right on through
another month, right?
Yeah. December. So, I mean, obviously those lights add a lot of cheer, a lot of spirit, build morale, as Bill mentioned, and good point.
Yeah. It's hard to imagine we're next Thursday's Thanksgiving, right?
I know.
Yeah. It's unbelievable how this year has flown by.
It sure is. We were up your way on Saturday, Bill, and the film was being filmed by on the way out towards Bearsville.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a pretty neat, really great collection of older cars.
That was a last-minute thing. So about 2-3 weeks prior, I was contacted by one of the scouts, and they said, "Oh, we're doing some filming in town. It's private property. Do we need permits or anything?" I said, "No, private property. You're okay." And we're chit-chatting, and she was still looking for a couple of sites, and I said, "Well, go look at our police station and look at our town offices." Well, a week later, she says, "Oh, we love them. Could we?" So now they used a couple of our office spaces for that. And I guess when the director got up, I guess like the day before they're supposed to shoot, they said, "Well, we'd just like to stop traffic for a minute and do one shot of a car going across the street." We says, "Yeah, okay, we'll need to bring in some police." "Yeah, no problem. We'll pay for that." And I think when the director got here, he fell in love with the area and said, "You know what? I want to do 6 or 7 more shots." So we were caught a little off guard. It all was very spontaneous. And I'm told that film crews can be that way. But it was a good experience overall.
Yeah, and honestly, when we went through, traffic was heavy, which was a good thing, and it wasn't like uncomfortably long waits. It was pretty neat.
Thank you. I'm glad you.
Yeah.
There were a few people who called a little caught off guard, but nobody was really that bent out of shape, or and we'll just keep working to make sure next time it's better. This may turn out to be a series too. So.
Oh, really? They're working on a pilot.
Yeah, I think that's what they told me. It's a pilot. So.
And here again, we've had this conversation before. If you have to wait, people are in such a big hurry to go nowhere. And if you have to wait a little bit, but it's something that's boosting the economy when we need it more than ever, with all the monumental expenses that all of us have been hit with COVID. So what? You have to wait, a little bit. All that brings money into our communities, brings money into Ulster County. And yesterday's announcement, even though it's not Ulster County, it's right across the river, with the announcement with Amazon. And it's not going to be a fulfillment center where, I guess fulfillment centers, it's based on seasonal. It's going to be a distribution. So there's going to be more steady jobs, and they're anticipating a conservative number of 500 jobs coming to Fishkill.
You know, a friend of mine used to say, an older gentleman, a rising tide lifts all boats. And, you know, so yes, you're right, Greg. It's not in our county, but it's across the river, and we'll see a benefit from it.
Oh, sure. I know for a fact there'll be Ulster County residents. There may very well be Woodstock residents, Saugerties residents that will land jobs there. I mean, let's face it. Look how many people from Saugerties, Woodstock, Kingston, when IBM was thriving. Even though there may have been, there was a IBM in town of Ulster. Many worked for years in Poughkeepsie or East Fishkill.
Yeah.
And we talk about it often without acknowledging why there's been so much change. You know, if you think about the Rotary Club, the Lions Club, and all those organizations, IBM used to had a culture where they used to encourage their employees to participate in those organizations. The YMCA wouldn't be what it is without IBM being here, decades ago. And when they left, that was a dramatic change, and the opportunities to maintain and expand those facilities and those organizations certainly changed, and it's been a credit to the people who, and not all of them survived, quite frankly.
Good example, JC's.
Yeah, great example. That's right.
Perfect example.
Yep.
A lot of the members of the JCs were IBMers, and they were encouraged. I believe there were incentives, if I remember correctly. I actually worked at IBM when I was in my senior year of high school and my 2 years at Ulster.
Did you really?
Yeah, in the accounting.
Did not know that about you.
In the accounting. Yeah. And
you never know what secrets you're going to learn on this show.
Yeah.
You never, ever know.
You know, there were a number of big companies back in the day that required a community service like that. And it wasn't just IBM. And I don't know what they do these days, whether they encourage it or not. But
some companies do. And
the banks are very, very well
very
known
thoughtful
for
that
it.
way. Yeah.
Actually, the banks are probably one of the best in that regard.
And I know for a fact
each of the banks up here in the credit union here in Woodstock, they're involved in different activities going on.
And that's the same for
Reese Insurance.
Yep.
I know Reese Insurance.
The insurance companies are pretty good. But I was just going to pick up on Bill's point. Sawyer Savings, Ulster Savings, all M&T, all the banks in our area all have annual projects that they dedicate to the community, and they get a lot of participation from their local employees. So.
Yeah, there's a car dealer in Saugerties seems to have
They get involved once or
that one
twice.
car dealer. What's that
There's a
called?
car dealer in Saugerties?
Yeah, it seems to have.
Where are they located?
Yeah, that one that sells Jeeps. Yep. They seem to have a strong community spirit there.
Yes, they do.
Oh, I didn't. Jeez, was it? I
wasn't imagine who they could be talking
about. I don't know. Jeez, if I'd known that, I wouldn't have gone to Romeo.
Oh.
We're going to get Bob up out of bed now.
Or Larry.
Too, yep.
Larry listens. I didn't know this. You know what? Larry does listen on a lot of occasions. He's never called. Maybe
he might call in now.
Well, that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry. The word will get back to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Back to the filming for a second. You mentioned the economic boost that it gives. That particular film, and I think it was a lower budget, small budget, but they were filming over at the Air Dome. They were up in Columbia County. They've been in the Hudson Valley for about 4 weeks now, and they're still filming away.
Mm-hmm.
And, so Woodstock got a couple of dollars here and there. The restaurants got a little bit. Everybody got a little bit. But the entire valley is doing pretty well with it. And this is only one of a dozen or so films.
You're going to see this continue to increase, I think. Now, here was a good example with the lead guy that you dealt with, okay, where he said he liked it so much in the area. It was his first time here, I gather, and he liked it so much he did additional shots.
Yeah.
So
the scout, the woman I was dealing with for the film, now actually lives in Woodstock. She moved up about a year or so ago, and she works for HBO, and I know that they have a number of series that they've been doing. It was interesting because I was talking to my bookkeeper on Monday about this, And she says, "Oh, I saw them filming down in Kingston. I saw the old car." And she took a picture of it. And I looked at it and I said, "Oh, no, that car is from the 60s. These cars were from the 50s. So that was another film or some small thing that was being filmed down there as well. So it's not like it's just one. There are multiple.
Well, people are going to notice, some folks in their news feeds, there's a series that was shot in Sorges in Woodstock at Barn on the Pond, Follower, I think it's called. That was done by us, and that was a pretty months-long project. And then John Gaffigan did a series in Town Hall in Sorges recently. And then
Used our studios, that's
they used
right.
our studio, yep.
Yeah.
And it's pretty amazing when they come because, in that instance, there was only 2 stars, but there was probably 30 people in support, driving trucks, moving lighting, and doing all these other things to coordinate it successfully.
That was Friday and Saturday up here.
There was a...
You're right. There's only 2 or 3, 4 actors, but the support staff is incredible.
Yep. And there's going to be an announcement out of Sorges sometime in the near future that will reinforce the infrastructure for filmmaking in the greater Hudson Valley, and it's going to be pretty exciting, but that's probably all I should say. But we're excited, and there's...
So you know what, Fred? Anything we can do to work together, I'm all for it. I mean, I go out on my way to help these different productions.
I tried to as well, and we also try to be sensitive to the neighborhood they might impact. And overwhelmingly so far, there's people have enjoyed the excitement about all of it.
Mm-hmm.
But you can see how at some point people will wear thin of the experience of having to accommodate film crews on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And we're trying to be sensitive and anticipate that.
Right.
And but it's great. It's happening in your town. It's happening in Kingston. We have a significant amount of it happening in Sorges, and I think that's true of most of the Hudson Valley.
Yeah.
The Hudson Valley Film Commission has a great, because oftentimes you don't, the production is being run under a working title, and oftentimes you don't know what the product is.
Yep.
And the Hudson Valley Film Commission, am I correct with that?
I think so. Yes.
That they carry a comprehensive list of what the product actually was, that you can go and find.
Oh, you can
the
reference
show.
that?
Yeah, you can find the show and see your backyard.
Yeah, that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
My wife, I don't know how she does it. She'll see something and she'll be like, "Oh my God, that was filmed here," and then it'll be like one scene, and she catch a facade of a building, and then she'll go through maybe that resource, and she'll come up. She's like, "That was filmed here, and this is the actor that was in it." I'm like, "You're amazing." I don't know how that one facade gave you the clue, but she picks up on things like that. It's amazing.
Right, yeah.
It's fun, though. Very fun. Interesting how that became an economic engine, too.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. Yeah, a lot of New Yorkers are kind of used to it. A lot of people come up from, you're so used to seeing shoots anywhere in the 5 boroughs.
Yeah.
And you're pretty used to it. So
It's
just part of the industries.
Yeah.
Just like hospitality.
As a visitor going there, it was really common to come across a film crew taking up a block and working and having 5 or 6 big vans and RVs lining the street, and then you'll see 2 actors come out. And but it wasn't really something we would see here very often.
Mm-hmm.
But increasingly, especially over the past few years, we do see those events.
Yeah, there was a location manager a couple days ago at Le Canard. They want to just do one shot, basically a couple shots. I guess you'd call it a small scene of the leads exiting the restaurant. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
It'll take the whole day.
Oh yeah, takes and
it'll take the whole
retakes
day.
and different
Yeah.
angles and.
Yep.
At the end, towards the end of the day on Saturday when they were filming, and we were getting a little anxious because it was going on all day, and the director wanted to do another shot because there was the outdoor noise from the cars going by, and I says, "Wait a second, can't you guys filter that out?" And then finally said, "Yeah, we'll handle it in the studio." So, but it could have gone on for another hour or 2.
Yeah. Something that struck me is I watched a conversation being filmed at a table with about 6 people. And you take for granted, but to get that conversation, it's a minimum of 6 takes because each actor has to recite their lines and be filmed while it's happening. So they'll set up the cameras on an angle where they can film the person sitting at the head of the table, and then they'll go basically clockwise around and do that over and over again. And I was kind of feeling bad for the actor because every hour or so they'd set up and they'd do the conversation again, and if the director was happy, they'd move on to the next one, or they do that 2 or 3 times. But I'm like, geez, there's a little bit of for 30 seconds of film, that's a lot of dedication to pull it off.
Yeah.
And the continuity.
And then it might all get cut in the cutting room.
Yeah, and the majority of it's going to go away. It's it was pretty interesting, but good stuff.
It is good stuff. Yeah, good stuff.
And that, again, it points to the natural scenery that we have, and the foresight that community leaders years ago had to preserve some of the facades that still exist and protect those neighborhoods. And it's a really interesting thing.
So while we got a minute, Fred, I'm curious, are you guys making any changes to your office space with regard to the public?
We're actively talking about it again. Anyone listening knows there's been there's all the evidence to suggest that we're hitting a second wave of corona, and we're starting to consider whether we're going to have to restrict public access to the building again. And we did have a reminder to everybody to due diligence and wear their mask and sanitize and do all those things like we did before. I think the advantage we have this time is we know what to do. Yeah. We just have to find the courage to do the right thing.
Right.
Did you restrict your access to the buildings yet?
Our office space up on the Como property, it's basically an old house, so it's tight confines. So we've actually shut the door to the public except by appointment. And we've felt with the heat now on and with the tight spaces, it was something we had to do to keep everybody safe.
Yeah, we're probably headed right down that same path.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it went over 3% yesterday, and
it did.
That was the first time. If you took out the micro-cluster zones, it was still under 3% statewide. We're out of time. We'll be back in a few. You're gonna stay with us, Bill?
Yeah, I'll call back in a couple of minutes.
Awesome.
Great. Thanks, guys.
I had 3.
Okay, and thank you, Fred Costello, Greg Shorvis, and Bill McKenna from Woodstock calling in. And you're listening to KCR, Kingston Community Radio, on AM 920 and 92.5 FM. My name is Dan Gatis, and it is Wednesday, November 18th, and 28 degrees here in uptown Kingston. And some snow showers will be happening, possibly at around 8 o'clock today around here. Then becoming sunny later, a high of 36. Tonight, a few passing clouds in a clear sky, low around 20. Thursday, sunshine and clouds mixed, high of 46. Thursday night, cloudy skies early, then only partly cloudy after midnight, a low of 34. And Friday, partly cloudy with a high of 61. Friday night, partly cloudy again, and a low of 38. And we'll be right back after these messages.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is Tony Marmo. Many families in our area will not have a happy holiday, and the WGHQ Happy Christmas Fund will help them. We are asking for your contribution to purchase children's clothes, toys, and food for seniors. You can drop off your contribution at the Boyce Brothers Dairy Milk House on O'Neill Street in Kingston. Thank you so much.
And thank you all for making the Happy Christmas Fund such a success this year. And you can still send in your Happy Christmas pledges and donations. You just call 331-1004 if you want to make a pledge. And you can send your checks to Post Office Box 4364, Kingston, New York, 12402. And let us know that it is a Happy Christmas Fund donation. You're with us here at KCR, Kingston Community Radio, AM 920 and 92.5 FM, 28 degrees on this Wednesday, November 18th. And this upcoming portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Many locations throughout the Mid-Hudson Valley, locations near you. Okay, let's get back to the on-air studio with Greg Shorvis, Fred Costello, and our new guests.
Thank you, Dan Gatis, and welcome back, listeners who have been with us the first half hour. And those just joining us, welcome, 331-9255. Supervisor Fred Costello is in the studio here with me, Town of Saugerty Supervisor.
Good morning, Greg.
And we have the ever flamboyant Chief Tinty, City of Kingston. And it's
flamboyant!
Flamboyant! I don't know any other word. Lieutenant.
And his pony boy.
Lieutenant. All right, Lieutenant Ponyboy, Cliff Tremper. Now, let me ask you, I don't want to put you on the spot here, okay, especially in front of your boss. What other one word would actually describe the chief?
Outgoing.
I think
going. I like that.
Exciting.
Flamboyant.
Excitable.
Excitable. There you go.
When you say flamboyant, I think Liberace. Flamboyant. Yes.
You got a lot of catching up to do.
I was not far away, though.
I've been called a lot more, so it's all good.
All right.
Yeah.
Before we get started with you folks, we should read this.
We've been reading it every week, but go. If you want to do
we have Wreaths Across America. The Saugerties VFW Post 5034 is sponsoring a trip to Saratoga National Cemetery on Saturday, December 19th, 2020, to remember, honor, and teach our children the value of freedom. Wreaths are $15 each and are urgently needed this year. There will not be a bus this year. It will be a self-driving event. There will be a time to meet at the Senior Center on December 19th at 9:45 and receive your instructions for the day. They were scheduled to place wreaths at 12 p.m. After, we will go to the Charlottesville American Legion Hall for a free lunch. So anyone who wants to support it can mail a check to the Saugerties VFW, Post 5034, at P.O. Box 152, Saugerties, New York, 12477. If you would like more information, you can reach out to Bob Howe at 845-246-8510. All right, and they would appreciate a reservation if you plan to attend.
And I believe Supervisor Bill McKenna has joined us virtually.
I'm here, yes. Good morning, gentlemen.
Bill, can you send a picture of you, like a poster we can sit on one of the chairs?
I could do that.
That's
okay.
a great idea.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Set them up right here.
So you guys you're in the presence of a famous person there. I saw one of those guys. The lieutenant's looking. He's smiling. He was on the news the other day.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Walking the beat. You looked good.
Oh, thank you.
Congratulations.
Now, seriously, we have to do that, and we could drape it over the chair, put it. And we got to get a hold of Shannon. So we'll have Bill McKenna
and Shannon.
Be just like
old times.
Just like that they're here.
Yeah. We'll just like the Major League Baseball had fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what the Giants did in the end zone? If you had tickets in the end zone, they did a large with your name across the seat, the cover of the seat.
I don't know if people who paid all that money for a seat license were really excited about that.
No,
I don't think
I'm
so.
sure they. I'm sure they weren't.
How about the Giants, though? They're almost tied for first.
But that division is so weak. I wanted to see him lose the rest of the games anyway to get the best.
Get a better draft pick?
Draft choice. My God, they're pathetic. New York football is pathetic.
No, wait a second, Greg. No. I got a bet with my bookkeeper. She's a Cowboys fan, and we can't be losing games here. It'll cost me money.
They're contenders for the title of the East. Not that there's, not a lot of glory in that this year, but they could win the division.
We were actually lamenting how terrible that conference is doing. And actually, I think those teams have won more Super Bowls than any other conference.
Yes. The teams in that division, that's a very good point, have won more combined Super Bowls than any other division in the National Football League.
And this year, they're absolutely every one of them is terrible.
Yep.
Yeah. Which is extraordinary because there were years where they would all have 9 or 10 wins, and only 2 of them, the division leader and the wild card, would come out of division, and everybody could have been a contender.
Right.
But this year is the exact reverse. Where
as you know, I am a Giant fan.
Yeah.
It's pathetic the way they are. But the only thing that I'm getting a little bit of satisfaction out of is the Cowboys are worse. They got a worse record than the Giants.
Yeah.
So people like
I do take a little
people like Stephen Bartels and
like
those,
to have
those diehard ones. It's
yeah. I know exactly what you're saying. It's one of my favorite things about football is to root against the Cowboys.
Just like in baseball, rooting against the Red Sox.
2 favorite teams, the Giants and whoever's playing the Cowboys.
Yes, pretty much, yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
My bookkeeper is in her office cringing.
Uh-oh. So she's a diehard Cowboy fan?
Diehard.
Oh, good. Well, wonderful. My condolences to you, Bill.
Yes.
Well, I think it's harder for them this year because there was an expectation. Obviously the injury set them back, but on paper they had a good team, and they look like they, especially in a weak division, they look like they would comfortably have a chance for the division title, but
not so.
No, they find a way to mess it up.
Yes.
So what's happening in Kingston? Busy, from what I understand, and here.
Bill made reference to our new walking program, foot patrols. We're doing foot patrols now. Every officer working every shift is required to walk a period of time during the shift, and it's broken up over the shift so that it's giving us more exposure to the public, more opportunity to have dialogue with the community. It's kind of a spin-off of the Blue-Gray program that wrapped up a few weeks ago, where we were out trying to, do certain things and make contacts in the community. So now, that's our new thing is you'll see a lot more guys and girls walking.
There's a huge value to that.
Yeah. There's, it's back to the old school way of doing things, which I think we keep trying to reinvent the wheel, and then we keep falling back to the tried and true.
Right.
But meeting with people face to face kind of shows your humanity as a police officer, but also exposes us to the community so that we might get a better feel for what's needed out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. We're going through, as you are, this police reform process, and we have a survey out. And one of the things that we see over and over again is that our constituents, the residents, don't know their police officers. Yeah. And, so it's something, and I guess we probably had a little bit of an inkling because back before the pandemic, we were just about to launch a thing, Cops and Coffee, where we would, get a container of coffee and some donuts and sit down with the police and invite the public in. But my hat's off to you guys for doing it. It's a good thing.
I think anything we can do to expose ourselves to the public and get ourselves, traditionally lately we've been seen as just people in police cars, responding, doing what we're supposed to be doing, but you don't see the face, you don't see the emotion, you don't see the human being that's wearing the uniform.
Right.
And on the other hand, the police officer in the car doesn't necessarily see the residents or the children or the community members the way they could when it's a face-to-face or a in-person type of setting.
And I'm a big believer. If you know something, you're comfortable with it. So if you know the police officers, you're comfortable with the police officers, and vice versa.
That's what I'm thinking too. Yeah.
The more we can do,
the more
to
familiar
get out
you
there,
are with something, the more
Will
comfortable
be.
you are and accepting of it.
Yeah. Now, when I saw the announcement you guys were going to do it, I called up my chief almost immediately. I said, I like this idea. So when you're doing it, are you going to? Is it just restricted to certain areas,
So
or
we picked out our group of locations that we thought would give us the greatest exposure to businesses, residents,
Right.
community in general. We're not walking down the middle of Route 32 or something like that, but
Right.
we're picking out the waterfront, uptown, any of the parks in the city, Broadway, around the schools to engage with the children that are on their way home or on their way to school. Those types of locations where we would get the best exposure and best opportunity to
interaction.
Speak somebody. Yeah.
We do it in Saugerties when we consolidated the town and village police departments. One of the things that came out of that was a commitment to maintain the foot patrol that the village police department had done.
Mm-hmm.
And the town does do that. Every shift somebody does a beat and they walk, and I think the rapport they develop with the business owners and the residents who see them on a regular basis is a really important component. And then we try to extend that to other areas, which is a little bit more challenging. And one of the ways that seems like it's going to work is a bicycle patrol. And in some of the neighborhoods, if a patrol car goes through, if you're doing dishes looking down, you might miss it.
Yep.
But if there's a bicycle patrol going through, because it's unique, it's more likely to catch your eye, and it's a slower pace, and you could kind of stop and interact. And that seems to be, we did it this fall a couple times, and I got a lot of really good positive feedback about it. So hopefully we manage our resources and we're able to do it in the spring and summer next year again.
It just when we did that little piece for the news, Officer Feeney and I walked. I want to say it was a half hour or so, and we had 3 or 4 good conversations along the way with groups of people or individuals who flagged us down or wanted to talk about what was on their mind.
Does Officer Feeney still have a canine?
No.
No?
We
Okay.
don't have any canines on our department now.
Okay.
But so we took the opportunity. We started at Academy Green Park, right outside Governor Clinton. We walked down Broadway, a scooch, and over to Clinton Avenue. So we walked maybe 4 or 5 square blocks. Went by People's Place where they were handing out some food and clothing items and stuff. And but just about every corner we had an opportunity to stop and talk with someone.
That's good.
Yeah,
it's really good.
And
it takes a little bit of logistical planning because you never want to be 15 minutes away from your patrol car.
Right?
You want to be a few minutes away.
And these assignments are 20, 30-minute walking assignments, so you can't be more than 10 or 15 minutes away from your car.
Yeah.
Or you shouldn't be. And that's the other thing. The guys and girls are always worried about. I want to back up my partner, and what if I can't get back to my car? The frequency of that is not that high. You'll get there. Somebody will get there, and I don't think that's something that we should shut the foot patrols down for.
No.
Now,
I agree.
You said Kingston Police, you do not have a canine unit?
We don't have any on our department, no. We rely on outside agencies to assist us
Have
with
you
that.
ever?
Yeah, we had quite a department, but there was.
We had 6 at one point.
I think the financial end of it turned into a problem, if what I recall is correct. Because once the dog is retired, we're still on the hook for the whole thing.
2 days of training, its own vehicle, and now you're talking about 6 cars tied up. I think they were a great asset, I do, but, in a community like ours, they're not always well accepted,
Right.
and unfortunately, it's one of these things where we kind of want to balance what the community wants and what the community needs.
Yeah, and I can, and of course, being the way you in the town of Ulster, how many dogs does the town of Ulster have? One? Okay.
We have
And
2.
the state police, the Saugerties, we call,
Right.
it's not that we don't have the resources, it just, we're down to 69 cops right now. That's the lowest it's ever been that I recall. I came on in
I don't
92,
remember.
and we had 72 cops at the time. So, and the community still wants walking posts. They want canine. They want bike. I get it, but it comes at a price. When you start reducing resources, right? When you start saying, I can't give you a hammer, but I still want you to drive nails, it's unrealistic. I can do it with a rock.
Right.
But it's not going to be pretty, right? And the same thing here. And as much as We've had increases in violence, and here's the plan.
That's a great analogy.
No, but it's true, right?
Yeah, it is.
And as much as I like to be flamboyant, I am frustrated right now, and I'm going to take the opportunity to say I understand the logistics. I do. I look at one slice of the pie. I look at the police department and the public safety aspects of this community. That's my concern. I'm not concerned about the parks, the safety of the parks, but not the groundskeeping. I'm not. It doesn't matter to me whether there's mechanisms for sports for kids after school. That doesn't impact me. It impacts me indirectly because the kids then, they start doing things they're not supposed to. So it all ties in together. And unfortunately, for me, when they say, what do you need? This is what I need. But then it's a balancing act that the elected officials have to decide. They have to say, well, we also need this. We need this. Can I get away with that? And there's a level of frustration when you try to go out there and use the resources that you have, sometimes limited resources, to make them happen. Bike patrol, absolutely 100% behind it. Love it. I love the concept. I put it together under Chief Keller. Perfect, right? We had them out there. We had bike schools. We just don't have the staffing to put out bikes on a regular basis. When we had 80 cops, we could do proactive work, real proactive community-based work. We don't have that now, and it's difficult. And everybody sees it, right? And it's not like people don't go, oh, come on, Chief, right? They all see it. It's just difficult to find the balance between the finances, right? Keeping the taxes down, right? We didn't have tax caps back then. It was a different story, right? So I get all that, but there is a level of frustration when we hear people say, well, how come Kingston doesn't have bikes? We do have bikes. They're in the basement. The bikes are in the basement. The bikes don't pedal themselves. We got to get officers out there. They got to be trained, got to be equipped. All that takes part of it, right? K-9, great resource. They are. But the frequency that they're needed in our city has been greatly reduced. We used to have 2 per shift. Remember, Cliff? That was a lot, right? And they were great resources. I'm telling you, those guys were hands down the best officers. When you stopped the car, you wanted a dog behind you. You never knew what you were going up against, right? So, but we have seen a great reduction in crime since the time I came on. You know, the Part 1 UCRs, the Uniform Crime Reports, were high in the 1,200s,
1,300,
right?
yeah.
1,200 crimes per 1,000, right? Or per 100,000.
No, the number, the 1,200 was the number, per year.
Per year.
Right.
So now it's reduced down. I think we're just below 500. So we're talking about
good news.
statistically,
That's
right?
a good,
Statistically, Kingston is a safe community as compared to other jurisdictions, right? When you talk, but people will tell me, I don't feel safe. That's what they say. I still don't feel comfortable walking at 10 o'clock at night down the city streets. Statistically, there's very little chance that you're going to be a victim of a crime. But, and then add onto that the most recent, 2020 has been crazy, right? Like we all know that. But now you add the violence that we've experienced since last year, right? The homicides, some of the shootings, the shots fired. People are absolutely on edge on a lot of this stuff. We had one yesterday, shots fired call, right? And we have a good lead on it now. But one, there's hesitation on community members to participate. I get it, but we can't do it alone. Mm-hmm. I just want, I don't know how many staffing issues, right? Let's talk about that. 23,000 residents, businesses surged pre-COVID, but in Kingston, estimating between 35 and 38,000 people come into the city of Kingston. It's a county seat, all that stuff. 6 police officers on the street for this city. 6. You're not going to meet everybody.
No.
It's unrealistic,
it's
right?
impossible.
It's just impossible. We did the cops and coffee. How many people? 2 people. 2 people over the course of weeks. 2 people. They'd come in. I go, hey, come on over. I'll get you a cup of coffee. Hey, no thanks.
Busy.
No thanks. You got to go, right? Then they'd come over and say, hey, good job or whatever, and then leave because they have to go to work. And so we're not getting that, right? We had community forums. As productive and as difficult sometimes as the dialogue is in those community forums, it's the same 10 people. I'm not getting 23,000 people at these community forums. People have jobs, they have families, they have commitments, they can't make them at certain times. Do we get emails and letters thanking us for what we do? Yes. Is there a push-pull going on right now between law enforcement and those limited resources we just talked about? 100%. Should we divert to mental health resources? How many? A quarter of our calls have to deal with mental illness or emotionally disturbed people. That's tremendous. And in some cases, we're not properly equipped. We're properly equipped to be aware of the situations, but not to handle them. We get 750 hours of training that incorporate everything a cop's got to do with a high school diploma. No 4-year degree in psychology, a high school diploma. You train a cop for 750 hours, you give them a gun, a badge, you swear them to the Constitution, and you put them out on the street. And they're expected to deal with an individual who has emotionally disturbed problems for 30 years. It's unrealistic. This cannot still be supported in the mechanism we have today. So the re-envisioning task force in Kingston, as Bill mentions, it's all over. Every jurisdiction has to do it as per the governor's executive order. But brings to light certain things. And I think today we have a community forum, an open community forum, virtual. It's being overseen by Lester Strong, who does a fantastic, in my opinion, absolutely just fantastic job. He was responsible for bringing the Peaceful Guardian program to Kingston, a mechanism to kind of bring officer wellness and awareness to a community level, specifically engaging children, younger adults. And I think it was great. And then COVID hit, and it kind of we just weren't able to keep it together, right? So, but ultimately, I think it was a great success. I think this will be a great success. The members that are on it are really community-minded. And as I've said from the beginning of this, I really just hope that they focus on Kingston issues with Kingston cops. We can't listen to the national narrative to some degree and apply it to the local aspects of Kingston. When people say cops should be trained, we are, in New York State, we are the best trained cops in the country.
I've heard Chief Sinagra say that. I've heard the troopers say
You'll hear from every chief, right? Certain agencies may have additional training based upon their needs. A municipal agency, a village agency, a town agency, right? The state police. There's differences within that. The DEP, outstanding agency. They train for water rescue. We don't have to have that in Kingston. We don't train water rescue, right? Our academy doesn't make it a swimming test, but there's other academies that require that you swim, right? So just that differences. But overall, the mechanism's designed at the state level to be all-encompassing for an officer to hit the street. And then on top of that, 12 weeks of in-house field training under the supervision of a field training officer who's been trained by the state to their standards to make sure that they get the information out properly. But it's unique. Computer systems unique, vehicle setups are unique, supervision's unique. Some agencies have supervisors in every shift. Some agencies don't. They have an officer in charge, right? So there's variations there. But overall, as a state policing system, we are the best trained in this country. And you'll still hear people say they should be trained in use of force. We are trained in use of force.
You know what's motivating that, though, because people see something on TV and you're like, wait a minute, how can that possibly happen?
And that's where it goes back to the national level, where you can't equate that. They see one incident, they see 2 incidents, they see 6 incidents.
Across the board.
That happens in Arizona, California, Minnesota, wherever it may be. And then, exactly, they apply it across the board.
And the rhetoric now
it's
is
worth the opportunity to remind everyone.
But it's easily spread through social media. People just say stuff but it gets the attention of individuals that are in positions now to make decisions. And it's not fair. You got to go back and say, Chief, what do you think of this? Don't judge the Kingston police by town of Podunk in some place out west. That's not fair. Years ago, and I don't recall the exact circumstances, just broad brush, there was a cop, I think he was in his mid-60s, ended up shooting somebody on a traffic stop. And right away, it was this rhetoric across the country, what's going on? It turns out he was a reserve deputy off of a political appointment that served once every 6 months, had no business being on the street, no training, just as here's your badge, and to maintain it, you got to do some car work. They put him in there, didn't know what he was doing, shot somebody, but has a badge on, and now police
wearing a badge.
Painted with the same brush across the country.
I think I remember that incident.
Yeah, it was unique, right? Because it was headlined, but that's not the case. So when you talk about use of force, when you talk about procedural justice and implicit bias and racist awareness, we are in this state trained. We are. Does Do people still make mistakes? 100%.
Everybody makes
does,
mistakes.
right?
Everybody makes
Cops
mistakes.
are from the community. We're not an isolated growth group, right? We don't take the ideas of the Spartans, right, where we kind of isolate these children just to raise them as warriors. That's not the case. We go through the same high schools. There's people out there that have graduated with us, and I say us, that are behind bars, that are on the other side of the law, right? So we're all the same, but at one point, something sparks us, whether it's community-minded, whether it's an individual that says, I feel I can be a part of the greater good, and I'm going to be first responder, ambulance, medical, whatever it might be, firefighter. But when you get there and you try to help people, right, the frustrations of a younger officer, new officer, who struggled at the scene and said, I'm here to help you. In reality, it was a medical call, okay? But the officer was the first on the scene. We patrol, we're out on the street, we get the call, the officer shows up and tries to help. At that point, the environment he was in didn't, and it was just after COVID, it was after George Floyd, there was a lot of discord, right? So the officer's struggling to say, listen, I can help, we got to do this. The people didn't want him there. And it became somewhat combative, right? There was an argument stemming from it. And the officer found himself struggling with I'm just here to help. Like, you don't get it. I'm not arresting somebody. I just want to help spot. And then ultimately KFD and Mobile Life showed up and took over. But I had to call the officer in. I didn't have to. I felt the need to call the officer in to explain to them what we now use is know your audience. Like, I get it. You went there with the intent to help. And even in my office, the officer said, but Chief, I just want to help. Like, I just wanted to get this person what
I know,
they
what an awkward
needed,
situation because they feel like they're being disciplined, but they're not.
Right,
They're
and then
offering
next thing you
guidance.
know, right, so that's the problem, right?
Yeah.
That's the other part of it, too, is there's somewhat of a stigma, right? Hey, the chief wants to see you. So I have to say, like, listen, you're not in trouble. I just want to talk to you. Just come on upstairs, right? And I don't have it across the desk, right? It's kind of a close-knit social distance type of discussion. But it's still he was in the chief's office. He got called to the principal, that type of thing. And that's not the intent. But I saw the confusion in this young officer's face. I did, because there's a struggle internally. We are here to help, right? So that's part of it. And then as a young officer, and on the senior officer side of it, and we talked about this, if it was a senior officer, someone who had 25, 30 years under their belt, and they showed up, and the person said, listen, we don't need your help, the cop would have got back in the car and said, okay, good luck to you,
Or
right?
backed up 10 steps to wait and make sure everything was good.
So, that's part of it, right? There's differences in the approach. And that truly is the struggle when it comes to all this. And there we go. There's flamboyance.
Okay, now, come on up.
For air?
Okay, now come on up for a breath of air.
I was good for the first 10 minutes.
have a couple sips of coffee. We have to go for a break, and we'll be back with birthdays.
Okay, and thank you, Chief Egidio Tinti and Lieutenant Tremper, and of course, Fred Costello and Greg Shorvus. It is 8 o'clock now, and you're with us here at Kingston Community Radio for Super Wednesdays. And KCR is WGHQ, AM 920 and 92.5 FM. And it's Wednesday, November 18th, and 28 degrees here in Uptown Kingston. Still a little snow showers here and there, but it's going to become sunny later, and it's pretty sunny right now, actually. A high of 36 today. It's 28 right now. Tonight, a few passing clouds and a clear sky, and a low of around 20. Thursday, sunshine and clouds mixed, a high up to 46. Thursday night, cloudy skies early, then only partly cloudy after midnight, a low of 34. Friday, partly cloudy with a high of 61, and Friday night, partly cloudy, a low of 38. This last portion of Kingston Community Radio was brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Many locations throughout the Mid-Hudson Valley, locations near you. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Don't. Just don't. If you see a low-hanging or downed wire, don't touch it. Don't move it. Don't go near it. line carrying an electric current strong enough to kill. But here's what to do. Stay at least 30 feet away and call 911. Central Hudson will take care of the problem. If you come close to a wire, shuffle away with small steps and watch your step. Wires may be hidden in fallen. The Home Energy Assistance Program can help make winter a little warmer this season, with financial grants to eligible households to help pay heating or utility bills. Are you in need of assistance or know someone who is? Find out more about the benefits and eligibility requirements of the HEAP program by contacting your County Department of Social Services or by visiting the Assistance Program section of Central Hudson's website, centralhudson.com.
This is Tony Marmo. Many families in our area will not have a happy holiday, and the WGHQ Happy Christmas Fund will help them. We are asking for your contribution to purchase children's clothes, toys, and food for seniors. You can drop off your contribution at the Boyce Brothers Dairy Milk House on O'Neill Street in Kingston. Thank you so much.
And you're listening to Kingston Community Radio, AM 920 and 92.5 FM. And my name is Dan Gatis, and it is 8:04 a.m., Wednesday, November 18th, and 28 degrees here in Uptown Kingston. Our call-in line is 331-9255, 331-9255. And we have Fred Costello and Greg Shorvis and Chief Egidio Tinti and Lieutenant Tremper in the on-air studio right now, and let's get back to the on-air studio. This upcoming portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Central Hudson.
Thank you, Dan Gatis, and welcome back, listeners who have been with us the first hour. Those just joining us, welcome. 331-9255 is our call-in number. We'd love to hear from you. We have in the studio here Chief Tinti, City of Kingston Police Chief, and his lieutenant,
Pony boy.
Cliff Tremper, Fred Costello, Supervisor, Town of Saugerties, and it is time for birthdays. What do we have, gentlemen?
Happy birthday to Jody McGarland. Love Tyson and Olivia, your family and friends. And Olivia says, happy birthday, Mom. Congratulations. Happy birthday.
And happy birthday to Charlene Hammersley from your friends at the Lunch-A-Bunchers.
And also today, on National Princess Day, it is Mickey Mouse's birthday.
Nice.
So today's winner of the famous cow pie is Charlene Hammersley. Congratulations, Charlene. When you get the opportunity, get down to Boyce Dairy Milk House, 62 O'Neill Street, right here in Kingston, New York. Pick up your famous cow pie, courtesy of Boyce Dairy Milk House and Kingston Community Radio. And listeners, please continue to send in the birthdays, the anniversaries. It's very simple, easy to do. You can email to kcr921@gmail.com. You can mail to Kingston Community Radio, P.O. Box 4364, Kingston, New York, 12402. So again, Charlene, congratulations. Happy birthday. Have yourself an awesome day. So before, I could not get a word in. Just a couple comments. It's good with the shared services so that when you do have the opportunity where you needed a K-9, and of course that was the question that triggered, but it was good.
And let me tell you,
it was good. It was good. So, I mean, obviously, you explained it very, very, very well, and I can just imagine how frustrating it becomes for you. When you were at full capacity, how many officers? You said you're down to 69 now.
So when I started, we had 72. And over the course of a few years, it started going up. 74, we went to 78, and then 80. We held 80 for a few years.
Yes.
And at 80, we're making, and I would be remiss if we didn't mention some contractual obligations, right? We have union obligations. The PBA has a memorandum or a collective bargaining agreement with the city that puts into it specific staffing requirements that we have to maintain 5 officers on the street. It doesn't matter how we do it, whether it's overtime or regular staffing, but 5 officers on the street, not including supervisors or detectives. 5 uniformed patrol officers have to be on the street during the daytime 6 on the afternoon, and 5 on the midnight shift. So that's contractual. Within it, there's a formula that requires how many officers are assigned to the shift. So that if we have 5 on the street, you have to have a minimum of 12 officers assigned to the shift. We are just meeting that now, just right on that line. If an officer retires, we're below it. Now we're actually in violation. And the contract, the union has been good about kind of working with us, knowing as long as the replacements are coming, there's no grievance, so we're good there. But with 80 cops, if I wouldn't put them just on the shift, right? I would make them a proactive, community-minded unit. One thing that has suffered over the years is our investigative component. We, as a result of an obligation to maintain patrol level staffing numbers, we've kind of taken from other places, whether it's administration and training, whether it's detective division. So over the course of a year, because of the homicides, the shootings, and the shots fired calls, our detective division is absolutely overwhelmed. And we're very lucky, as you mentioned before, Greg, with the staffing or the shared services with the state police and sheriff. We rely on them tremendously. Town of Ulster, right? They're just, every time we have something, they're in. And so we couldn't do it without them right now. And that's good. But now we're using their resources, right? Which means we're taking away from them when it comes time. So overall, with 80 cops, which is a tremendous increase in the budget, right? Again, I'm only concerned about the public safety aspect of it. And when I prepare the budget, I say, give me 80 cops. But now you're talking about adding 8 more or 9 more at $120,000 a year salary with benefits and, oh yeah.
That equates to about $1 million.
That's it. Now you're talking about $1 million on a city budget, and it is tremendous. And so as much as I'm aware of it, at the end of the day, when I hear constituents and residents and business owners say, well, what are you going to do about this? I say, listen, I'm stretching this rubber band as far as it possibly can go. Like, it is right there at this point. But that's the limitation we have. So, and I get it, right? They all want extra cops, but they don't want to pay for it in their taxes. I understand all that, right? Nobody needs that. So we're trying to be more creative. Most recently, I asked for license plate readers. And there was a grant out there that Julie Noble secured, a tremendous opportunity. So if we can't get, as I mentioned before, some of the eyewitness or resident participated investigative solving solutions out there, one thing that I would like to do is increase the use of technology. License plate readers are fantastic. They're big brother, right? They can't talk about, recording information without people freaking out about, no, they're recording my plate number. They're recording your plate number no matter what, right? Let's just be real. If you have something to hide, you should be out there doing it, right? That rhetoric is getting old. The rhetoric is getting old. It's really getting old for me. When we called my office today upset, I can't believe you said that, constitutional rights. I believe in all that. But if you got nothing to hide, what are you worried about? What are you doing?
So the perception of Big Brother is an interesting concept at this point, because almost any business, especially a private business, they have a security system and they monitor and they get a piece of the highway, which they're part of. And that's just true. Our business has that. We share that with the police officers when they ask for it without question. And almost any business would do the same thing. And
almost. Not everybody, right? So what's been told to me during these exchanges is, but that's owned privately. That belongs to an individual. You would have to get that either through consent or have a judge submit it.
Yeah.
But as a government, if you have access to all the cameras, you can tell them my whereabouts. And let's say it, right? There are people out there that are completely paranoid. Paranoid.
Oh, yes.
Right? They go through the bushes. They don't want their face recognized. Why is that cop? A cop car will circle the block twice, and people will call headquarters and go, why are they looking for me? What makes you think we're looking for you? And should we be looking for you? Right? So, again, you can hear the frustration in my voice because everybody wants a safe community. But there's that balance that we've talked about before, the safety and security of the community as a whole, and the civil liberty, the constitutional liberties protected on an individual basis. That balance has to be found. You want a safe community? Lock down Kingston at 10 o'clock at night. Nobody on the streets. Nobody. Safe.
No, that's a non-starter.
But that's not going to happen, right?
That'll go over.
And again,
now
you're talking about, fascism, and I get all that. People are just crazy, right? My father used to say in Italy, a young boy, there was no place safer, but you couldn't do anything you wanted. You know what I mean? You couldn't do anything you wanted. Mussolini had people out there that said, this is the way it's going to be. And if you were caught someplace you weren't supposed to be, you weren't found for a couple of days. That's not
Yeah.
here, right? We can't go there.
No,
we can
don't-
never go there.
Right. We enjoy our freedom here, and we're
But there's
proud
got to
of
be
it.
a balance, right? And there's mechanisms.
There's many countries in the world. That's the way it works.
And for us,
That's
it
the
really
challenge
is-
for anybody that has a public leadership role, to balance the public good against our individual freedoms. And that's true of every facet of life. I mean, there's never been a time that that's become more apparent than with COVID restrictions. I mean, you know, there's some folks that just don't want to wear a mask. And
Right.
governments are a little bit
Oh, yeah.
challenged to make them wear a mask, even though there's a lot of science to suggest that that's one of the easiest ways that we all can protect one another.
Right, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
I decide not to wear a mask. Chief is telling his officers, if you see somebody, fine them or do what you have to do. Then they bring him down. Hey, this guy got tased, Chief. He didn't want to put a mask on.
Yeah.
Right, what have we done, right? Where's the
Right,
greatest-
so where's the
on that,
balance
right? So
on
where's
that?
the balance? So,
Yeah.
And I understand the frustration, I do, but the mechanisms are in place. I can't speak about federal level government or even state level government, but local government, there's mechanisms. We have a judicial system that oversees it. If you've been wronged in any way, when the police officer stops you for a taillight out, you're not guilty of that violation. That is a simple arrest, or, you know, in most cases, just an offense, where he says, listen, here's your ticket. We're going to go in front of a judge, and he's going to decide whether or not there's guilt involved in here. I'm going to have a camera I'm going to bring that's recorded your taillight out in Kingston. I have body cameras and mobile dash cams. And I'm going to let the judge see it and say, yeah, your taillight was out. Listen, it's not always about giving the tickets. And as the lieutenant points out with the blue and gray, we've been successful. People will say, no, it wasn't. It was stop and frisk. We use probable cause on every stop. Some people didn't like that that what they considered to be absolutely ridiculous stops, a bell or a license plate that was loose, but these are probable cause violations that gets us to the point where we can engage the driver, and in most cases the passengers, in dialogue in Kingston to say, hey, you know, you got your license plate that's loose. That's a violation of the vehicle and traffic law. Do you know anything about the shootings in Kingston? And I'm oversimplifying, obviously, but there's a dialogue there. Do people find it inconvenient? Yeah. I got places to go, right? I heard you on the radio before. People in a rush to go nowhere sometimes, right? They just don't want to be bothered by it. But people also are calling saying, I don't want shots fired in my neighborhood. I don't want my kids playing outside and worrying about a stray round hitting the side of the house. There's got to be that balance. That's the balance. So I asked the community on a regular basis, and I'll use this as an example without giving up the location. We had shots fired yesterday. I show up to the scene. Officers are looking for any type of evidence. They're doing a neighborhood canvass, standard investigative procedure. A woman comes out of the house. She has a young baby in her arms, and she says, are you the chief? I go, I am. And she said, I want you to put a camera on my house. I'll let you put a camera on my house to help you make this community safe, because it's not about me or my husband anymore. It's about my child. We can't raise children in this environment. I would love to. I would love to have cameras every place, because we may not stop the shooting, but we'll catch the person that committed the shooting. That's the big part. If we don't have the intelligence or evidence-based policing mechanisms in place to stop an act from happening, right? And Minority Report, right? The whole predictive type, it just doesn't happen, right? We can't predict human behavior if we don't know. If we find out that John has an issue with Charles and there's going to be a beef, we'll keep an eye on both of them. Right? We're going to try to make sure that's the premise behind a lot of this evidence-based policing and focused deterrence that we're trying to employ. I mean, IPVI and Saugerties is based upon a focused deterrence principle, where we have an individual, correct me if I'm wrong, Cliff, right? You're at the heart of this thing, where we call them in and say, hey, listen, we saw what you did. That's unacceptable. We're keeping an eye on you now. And if you do it again, we're going to hit you, bring in front of the judge, in front of the courts, if necessary, as much punishment as necessary to correct your behavior. Your actions are unacceptable in this society. Stop doing it. Time to clean yourself up.
Now, one other thing, again, didn't want to interrupt you. How many times have you made a stop for a license plate loose, a tail light that is out, and you come to find out the individual's wanted on an outstanding warrant.
Lots of times, yeah.
So
the purpose behind it is not to punish the individuals that are part of the greater good of this community. That was never the intent. Do they get caught sometimes getting stopped? Yes. How many stops? How many tickets? And in most cases, it's not like one stop resulted in a ticket. In many times, it was one stop resulted in numerous tickets. I think there was one individual who had 12?
Yeah, 12, I was gonna
12
say.
traffic tickets. Now, again, you're talking about an individual that had a lot more going on than just a vehicle and traffic stop, right? That was the probable cause for the stop, but once the officers investigated, he was the driver, they realized, holy cow, this is...
Once he finally stopped.
That's right, which resulted, obviously, in another ticket. But there was a vehicle traffic law violation. They had the probable cause for the stop. They tried to stop him. He didn't stop. It wasn't a high-speed pursuit, but it was something like the person obviously didn't stop, and, that's a failure to comply.
And correct me if I'm wrong. If you have a tail light that's out or a license plate light that is out, you have the opportunity to have that thing repaired, and the ticket goes away, right?
Fix a ticket. They call it fix a ticket.
So, if I got stopped by an officer because I had a tail light out, I myself would, of course, I'm more aware of what the police do and the respect for. I'd be appreciative of the thing. Okay, how many times you walk around your car and look at your rear lights? Yeah. How many times you put your directional on, go, walk by, okay, that one's working. Now let's try the other one. Walk around. Right. I can't tell you when I missed.
And you'd have to do that every time you stopped and got out of the car, right? I go shopping, I get out, I got to go around again. No, I'm not doing it, right? It doesn't happen.
So if I've always said this. All right, it's just like you can go back to where you pulled an officer into your office. If one's not aware, how can one address? How can one correct?
Yep. And in most cases, like you said, the fix a ticket, the equipment violations are easily remedied, right? In response to that, community members in Kingston set up I don't know what their brake light fix it thing or something. They had a day. What's that?
Oh, okay.
Well, they actually had an area. If you have a tail light out or bring your car for an inspection, we'll check it out for you. That's awesome. Yeah. That is absolutely awesome because the end result is the cops, we don't get paid more for writing the ticket. People are under the belief that we have some quota out there that says Tinty has to write 10 tickets a month. You're laughing because right?
There's always been that perception.
Right, but it's in the law. That can't exist, right? It's in the law that says we can't even do that. When an officer does a traffic stop, we're just showing the proactive work, right? Because at the end of the day, they just want the community safer. They want to make sure that brake light's not going to cause an accident. That's what it is. That the tail light makes sure that the driver isn't drunk when it's failure to turn on. When the headlamps aren't on in Kingston, that's probable cause for the DWI stop. And if it turns out the person just forgot, had a fight at the house, now they're driving to kind of drive off this anger and forgot to turn the headlights on because we have those LED streetlights that are doing a great job lighting up the streets, they forget